9 to noon. NFL Draft.
Good stuff. Time for two more.
Personal foul. Clipping.
Yeah, but
big day today in the neighborhood. We had one last night. It ended this morning. Power Trip mock draft. NFL draft tonight. T-Wolves tonight. And what a night last night. For the Minnesota Wild, the Wild Game Ops, those who put together the operations with like the hype and everything before the game. I don't really know who they are, but Wild Game Ops went above and beyond to hype the home game last night, and the state of hockey was all fired up and hot and bothered. Justin Jefferson unfurled and impassioned. Let's play hockey. And sports fans alike, they were all wound up, excited for that game last night. I mean, Rube's just going nuts, all loud and proud. But a crafty veteran said, sit down for now and be quiet, because it's going to be a long night, as a common thread was developing.
Stars take the lead. A backdoor pass, Mikko Rantanen on the redirect, wide open. It's 1-0 Dallas.
Yeah, that's a disappointment, certainly for Minnesota.
Mikko Rantanen makes it 1-0 on a power play goal as a common thread develops. Our guys had myriad chances to steal the show. There's no doubt, especially when the big man dunked on Dallas.
Wild come up, the puck out of the box is Boldy. Nick Foligno chiseled it free. McCarron steps in on side, rumbling in right circle. He scores! Oh, Michael McCarron beat out at your stick side. The Wild have a 3-2 lead.
But common threads, to be common and to be a thread, they need a start and a stop. An A to a Z. Power play potency after repeatedly receiving extra man chances. You know, Marcus Foligno said before the game yesterday, Dallas wants to play us 5-on-4 because they can't hang with us 5-on-5. And after Matt Duchene scored on the common thread power play middle of the third period, that common thread of Foligno prophecy was coming to fruition. 3-3 end of regulation, 3-3 end of the first overtime, 3-3 approaching 1:30 in the morning. Dallas gets to play 5-on-4. Dallas gets to play 5-on-4. And laying in bed listening to this, I found myself feeling bad for Sad Joe.
Robertson with it. It's passed to Heiskanen. High slot, center point. A shot. They score.
Sad.
It's hipped in front. Volstad got a chunk of it. And the Stars win the marathon game number 3. 4-3 in double overtime. And they've got a 2-1 best-of-7 series lead.
The common thread wrapping around our second L was complete. Dallas grabs a 2-1 lead in the series. 3/4 of their goals came with a man advantage. Foligno told us it would be that way. Game 4 is Saturday. Feels like it has some must-win terrorism to it for the Minnesota Wild because according to The Athletic, 66% of teams who win Game 3 all time in the Stanley Cup playoff series win the series. A Russo radio at 11 o'clock, and there's much to unpack from a game with 15 penalties, no Zuki or Trainian, and a bunch of tired Wild fans yawning their ways into work right now. Wolves back tonight for Game 3 of their series with Denver. And, of course, the A topic for many is the National Football League draft, which begins at 7 o'clock. We'll have our annual draft radio show from U.S. Bank Stadium, and the Minnesota Vikings pick 18. For now, that topic makes up 2/3 of the first hour of 9 to noon. And we begin with an old friend.
PA and Charch.
Paul Charchian is with us. Welcome home, my friend. Welcome home.
It is great to be here, especially when you fly into town in April and it's 85 degrees. What is going on? This is fantastic weather.
What excites you about the first round of the draft tonight?
It's an opportunity to see what the post-Kwesi era is going to start to look like. What level of does this team start filling need? There's just so much frontline starting need that this team has got. Or do they play more of a best player available approach? And I just feel like this team needs a center, a defensive tackle, a cornerback, a safety. There's just players that we need to eat plays that I feel like there isn't the kind of luxury this year to take best player available necessarily.
Why do you think sports fans alike love the NFL draft so much?
The NFL draft will draw more viewers than the finals, a 7-game final for the NBA, the World Series. I mean, people love this, right? This is the opportunity for anybody who is a fan to not take an L. Nobody's taking an L on draft day for the most part. And so you get to follow your favorite team. Everybody thinks they know a little bit about these players. In many cases, you know a lot about these players. You were watching Ohio State football. You know a lot about these guys, and you get to see where it lands. Everybody's got an opinion. And you get to get it hyped up about your team in the middle of the offseason. It's the best. People love it, and rightfully so. Do
you think it's become amplified or intensified? Let's say the last 10 or 15 years with the with social media, where you'll get people who they'll jump on social media. Let's say X. Yeah. They'll formulate this grandiose opinion after the combine. Well, now they've become married to the opinion.
Yeah.
And things may change. And say it's Tennessee corner Jermod McCoy, and, college football watching individual is like, no, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. This guy shuts down everybody. And he would be the perfect pick for team du jour at pick du jour. Well, then the weeks roll on and the months roll on. And the closer you get to the draft, you start hearing and or reading from people, in whom you trust that, this individual has a certain injury that actually is keeping teams away from him through the first 1, 2, or 3 rounds, even though his skill set when healthy is of the, say, top 15 variety. But see, then they don't want to back off an opinion that they formulated for 2 months. So I think that plays into it too. The desire not only for your favorite team to get better, but the desire for you to be right.
And the week of injury steam. Do you trust anything that's steamy in the days leading up to the draft? Yeah. Because there's so much deception and so many different levers are being pulled to try to make sure that some player, maybe it's Caleb Downs, some player drops 5, 6, 10 more spots than they should by circulating some rumors that suggest that. Right. And that's part of the fun of it, is trying to decode the late steam and what's legit and what is not. Is Jordan Thomas really going to go from somebody who a month ago was widely believed to go end of first round?
Who's that?
Jordan Thomas.
Oh,
Jordan Tyson. Jordan Tyson, excuse me. Is he really going to go? Is he really going to go at pick 7 now, pick 8? That's, those are the kinds of conversations that I think are really fun to try to decode.
I wonder if the listeners here or people who follow the NFL draft, football fans, I wonder if they truly know to the level and extent agents of players shape things.
Yeah.
I mean, you may know it's there. You may read about it at profootballtalk.com. But I just wonder if people really know to the true extent agents shape things that we see, read, and or hear.
Don't you think 90% of the leaks and steam come from agents, not front offices?
Has to be.
Right? I mean,
or disgruntled employees with teams who know they're on their way out, and it's like, bleep it. I'm just going to share. Yeah, and that
privately. Yeah, sometimes that does happen where this is your last draft. And, but agents are they leak almost all of the news all year round,
and it's
including
so dirty.
The draft stuff.
It's so dirty because certain power brokers, I would believe, get into a position where they're like, I'm on that guy's sheet. I feel like he kind of owns me right now, where if I don't do this, when this comes up at the end of 2026, I believe he's going to put the screws to me and us in a way where if we don't do this the right way now, it may not work out for player du jour at the end of the season.
Absolutely.
When it comes to retaining said player.
And if you're an agent for a rookie, let's say you're an agent for a rookie who's on the bubble of the first round, say a cornerback, you're Colton Hood's, I'm just randomly choosing him. Mm-hmm. You're Colton Hood's agent.
Yeah.
It means so much to you as an agent to get Colton Hood into the first round, so you can tell future clients
there you go.
that I was the agent for a first rounder, and if you can do things that diminish another possible first round cornerback and get him out of the first round, get your guy up, that counts. Now you're in. Agents will do whatever it takes.
Well, Tyson's a good example, too, because of the injury history. So if you hear, it wasn't Joe Shane, I think, is the GM in New York. Well, he didn't post on X that he had dinner with Jordan Tyson. That seems like an agent would be the one that brings that information to the table, starts getting steamy. But it's like, ooh, the Giants seem to be okay with the medicals of Jordan Tyson. I wonder how that continues to filtrate and ooze out. Maybe we need to take a second look at Jordan Tyson because the Giants are cool with it and they have all these needs, but man, they love him. What am I missing with Jordan Tyson? Ooh, maybe I might take him at 11 or 12 if the Giants don't grab him.
FOMO, right? That happens. What do the Giants know that we don't know? Maybe we should go back and look at film. Just go back and re-study Jordan Tyson. That stuff absolutely happens.
Medical staffs and the doctors teams use, that are not necessarily, well, maybe they are staff employees. I don't know. But I'm talking about, so like here, you have Tyler Williams, who's the head of the sports performance department, the trainer, and, the strength and conditioning and all that. But, then you have doctors who are specialists in things. And I just find this year that those individuals and what they sign off on or what they rule out, they have so much low-key MVP to them this year. And that MVP and that, boy, hey, you know what, we're going to give you a $250,000 bonus because you nailed this. With your analysis, when everybody was looking at it this way, you went this way. Or you told us it would be okay and everything was cool, but this thing is degenerative and we're not going to get more than 3 years out of this guy. You're out. I just think there's a lot, we touched on it a little bit on the power trip. From Caleb Downs and Jordan Tyson and Jermod McCoy and Eli Stowers and Caleb Banks and player after player after player. It's really, really big this year.
We don't know how much Rob Brzezinski values medical, and it's hard. It's always hard to know. But we know Spielman did a lot. He talked to us very openly. He took that very seriously. And there were guys that got the proverbial red dot, and that was it. Yeah. They were just basically off the board. And I think we don't know for sure how Brzezinski's going to handle this, but the presumption is that he's going to listen to his doctors. I think for Rob, the smartest thing he can do if he wants to be the future general manager is to be as inclusive as possible, get KOC on his side, get your medical staff on your side, as many people, get as many advocates inside the building to support your candidacy for GM. And one of those key parts of that is your medical team.
This is the closer I get to it, the closer we get to it, this is a discernment draft. The first 30-ish, 40, 50-ish picks, just the discernment, the decisions that are being made from the heart off the intel you have, where you cannot get inside somebody's body and completely 10 of 10 check things off. You can ride percentages. Over the last 20 years, a person with this malady has done this for this long. Yeah. But that was with that medical staff, and that guy got fired 2 years later because of 9 mistakes that were made, as opposed to this group does this and they got these doctors and we can sign off on this. There are facets of this draft that begins at 7:00 tonight. Discernment, the discernment part of it, if it's not 10 of 10, people will lose jobs in whatever you want to determine the very near future, after a season, after 2 seasons, because there are some high-enders who are battling some maladies that have people all scared. And some of them may be bad forever. Yep. Some of them may be over overly examined, overly panic stricken, stuff like that.
Remember when Adrian Peterson's draft? Shoulder.
Collarbone.
Yeah, collarbone, right. Yeah,
excellent example.
And people, it all seems stupid now. Really? We were worried about his shoulder?
What an elite example, because the Vikings, and this is before social media, but agents and everybody still had their hands in the proverbial cookie jar. And the Vikings had sold to the public and or other teams so well that they were going to draft cornerback Leon Hall at 7. Adrian teams weren't freaking out to be like, we got to come up and get him. Well, then they took Adrian at 7. And, even when Matt Khalil was drafted, I'm driving to our draft show, and I hear somebody from NFL Network on the radio talking about there was a wide receiver, Blackwell or Justin Blackman or something.
Yeah, Jaguars.
And then Morris Claiborne, maybe.
Yep.
Well, we knew from that combine, from when I rolled up to Matt Khalil trying to meet him, saying, well, you don't know this, but we're going to have a $19,000 Continental Diamond endorsement for you in the next few months if you'll just come on the show with me in Charch. So we were pretty secure they were going to draft Matt Khalil that year.
Yes.
Right in front of the draft, two heavy hitters. I have it on good authority. I have it on high-end intel. One said it's going to be Morris Claiborne in the corner from LSU. The others, it's going to be Justin Blackman, the wide receiver from wherever. That was like 3 hours before the draft, and it always was going to be Khalil. So that stuff, that the discernment or the deciphering between what's real and what's not, that is today, and it's circulating and percolating all over the land.
Do you believe Rob Brzezinski has the buy-in with the Wilfs to trade away future equity, 2027 equity, or do you believe the Wilfs have said, we don't want to do anything to discourage any potential general managers that come in? Like, we don't have a second rounder next year. We don't have a first rounder next year. Or do you believe that's going to play into maybe the Vikings playing it straighter this year?
Well, I don't think you gain the respect Rob has gained league-wide for almost 30 years by, not having the respect of the ownership group. So therefore, when I say Kevin O'Connell is the personnel related, coaching related face of this franchise, I do believe, Kevin should have a big say in what happens with these draft picks.
Yeah.
So you just put that whole collaborative thing together, and then that gets you to decisions. But like I said on the power trip, is if there are to be trades involving the Vikings in 18, I think it's 85, 90%. 18 goes back to the 20s. So they have 4 picks in the top 100. If they wanted 5, it wouldn't surprise me. Because, I do believe it's fair to say that they want 3 or 4 of those 4 or 5 to play this year.
Yes.
And that's been antithetical to the last 4 drafts. So it's, no, I don't believe they would, when it comes to 18, I don't believe that they, would do like this, this first, we'll pick swap here, do a first next year, a second next year, a third this year. We're going to go all the way up to get Jeremiah Love. What I do believe, and I'll get into it more tonight on the draft show, is that the Charchy sheet. The Rams have so much wild card to them tonight.
They do. I've got an oddball player going to the Rams at 13.
I have an oddball player potentially being on the LA Rams named Jeremiah Love.
Oh,
and
okay.
Them coming up to get Jeremiah Love.
Wow.
I do believe they will try to do that tonight. I don't know if they will accomplish it. But just look at the dots. Let's connect the dots here.
Okay.
With the moves they made for those corners. Okay. The McDuffie.
Oh, yeah.
And Watson. They made
great moves.
Yeah. But they're big moves. And so they're at 13 because of the Falcons giving it to them from last year with the defensive end who had 10.5 sacks, the edge guy. But I'm not predicting it's going to happen, but I do believe that they are more interested in moving from 13 to the Love spot than I was yesterday. And also, how about this nugget?
Wow.
How about this nugget? Okay, so in June of 2025, Rams general manager Les Snead was quoted publicly as saying, in the 2026 draft, Ty Simpson is my favorite quarterback. Okay, he said that in June of 2025.
Right.
Well, here we are, year of our Lord 2026, the month of April. And Stafford, lights out as he has been, he still is nearing the end.
Very.
But I didn't know that the general manager for the LA Rams, Les Snead, I'm not going to say it's his best friend, but he's extremely close with Ty Simpson's father.
Okay. All
So
right.
does that mean? and now, if you start to think out, well, Ty Simpson could have gotten $6.5 million NIL to play for the Miami Hurricanes, and he walked away from it like that. I mean, it wasn't even a second thought. I think Ty Simpson thinks one way or the other he's going to be an LA Ram, and the percentages would be greater that the Rams would go 13 back to the Simpson spot. But if there's, let's say, picks 4 or 5 or whatever, and ding, 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 the trade thing comes up, and that's a Jeremiah Love spot on the radio tonight, I will say that's going to be the LA Rams.
Wow. If you get this right, this is going to be one of your biggest, best draft day calls.
They
got Blake Corum. They got Kyron Williams.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Jeremiah Love's on a whole different stratosphere from those guys.
Maybe.
But that's not viewed as a position of need.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got them going, the Rams going wide receiver because you've got Devontae Adams on the very end of his
career. Like Omar Cooper or
Omar
something.
Cooper, exactly. I got Omar Cooper going to the Rams at 13.
Yeah.
And I'm
never
convinced
doing a
myself
mock draft again. Never.
Okay.
I mean, I got Jermod McCoy in a spot that's going to be 15, 20 spots too high because of some knee terrorism that's starting to pop up and get loud with certain teams. And I think McCoy's going to go between 25 and 32. And I got him like 13, 16, something like that.
Yeah, the medicals, Paul. It's back to the medicals again. Well, let me ask you this: we've always talked for years. If you don't have your franchise quarterback, always draft a quarterback at some point. And you and I have discussed this at length. My feeling is, whatever that quarterback is, and wherever you take him, he should have one NFL starter trait that you can build around that gives you the potential of grooming the rest of his ability set around that, and he could someday maybe end up working out for you.
And I'll leave you with this. If Dylan Thieneman is taken by the Minnesota Vikings at 18, it's not going to surprise me. I think the crowd at US Bank Stadium would really like it because that's the name that's been bandied about the most. I stick by what I said on the power trip. Oregon tight end Kenyon Sadiq absolutely fits, but it has some luxury pick to it. And we are at an in-between period from a previous general manager to potentially a new full-time general manager. So, I mean, it just feels like it has a little wild west to it here when it comes to the 18th overall pick and what potentially could be done. The Dallas Cowboys, from what I've learned, would like Dylan Thieneman at 20, not at 12, at 20. We pick at 18. So that's going to get a little goofy too.
It is, and not only Dallas at 20 who could jump up. Carolina at 19 needs a safety. Pittsburgh signed some safeties in the offseason, but those are bridge guys and they're 21, 22.
Yeah.
Chargers need a safety, and even 23 Philadelphia could use a safety. There are 5 teams after the Vikings that are all candidates to move above 18 and get Thieneman.
We'll talk it out tonight. Good seeing you.
Great seeing you. See you tonight.
Paul Charch and part of the draft show tonight with Ben Lieber, Pete Bursich, and yours truly. That's part of the TimberTech What's on Deck set list. Ben Lieber being here at 10. Jordan Reid from ESPN, nice enough to join us day of round 1, and he's in Pittsburgh for ESPN, radio, TV, and ESPN.com for the NFL draft. And JReid's going to join us about 20 minutes from now. T-Wolves have a big game tonight against the Denver Nuggets, and the thoughts and opinions of Dane Moore will grace the airwaves around the corner. Excited for that, excited for the game tonight, excited for Pick 18, and excited for somebody to win some money right now.
The Fan and BigDeck.com want to give you a shot to win some bonus bucks with the National Cash Contest. This hour's keyword is cash. You could win by entering the keyword cash at KFAN.com.
It does go down to the 3. It's confirmed. 112-111. The Wolves with a 1-point lead. They've got possession. 1:13 left to play in the game. Can Ant deliver? He's got it up top against Jamal Murray. They run a double at him. Now to DiVincenzo. Deep 3 at the angle. DiVincenzo knocks down the biggest shot of the night.
Game 3, Timberwolves and Denver Nuggets tonight, right around 8:30. Joining us now, Dane Moore at Dane Moore NBA via X. The Dane Moore podcast is excellent, and Dane joins us now. The Dane Moore podcast is excellent, Dane, and good morning. But I watched a recent one you did. Well, you've actually done several after, but Ryan Blackburn is going to join 9 to noon 2 hours from now for his second appearance 9 to noon within a week. And I'd like to publicly thank you for, in a roundabout way, introducing me to that young man, because he's terrific.
He's a great kid, man. Yeah, no. Actually, I know, like, there's so much animosity between fan bases during a playoff series, and sometimes the media members wear that a lot, and I know the Wolves fans have had some frustration with the Denver media people, but I've been to Denver so many damn times now for this series. I've got to know all these guys well, and Ryan is amongst a great group of not just people, but they do a great job, breaking this thing all down. So yeah, your listeners are in for a treat with Ryan. He knows his stuff.
Yep, Nuggets team about 11:20, 11:25 with Ryan Blackburn, and we of course appreciate Dane because we know he's super busy with the T-Wolves and Nuggets series. Let's begin with just tonight. Paint with a broad brush. What do you expect tonight?
Oh man, what do I expect tonight? What I'm thinking about is, I think the Wolves, first game back at Target Center, and you come out strong, right? And I'm envisioning like the Wolves being up 12, 13 points in the first quarter, and I wonder what happens then. You know what I mean? Like, is it time to chill or is it time to kill? And like Denver in game 2, right? They got up 19 in the first quarter and they started to chill. And the playoffs, it's a long game, man. A 15, even 20-point lead in the playoffs isn't that much. So I would expect the Wolves to come out strong initially, and I'm curious to see what their like permanence is of that dominance.
Do you, Dane, and you're around it so much, do you think some extra time between games helps Anthony Edwards' knee, or is this going to be a problem with which he deals at least all series?
I think he's going to deal with it all series. It's inflammation, right? So it's something that only goes down with rest. Now the question is, like, what does 48 hours of rest do? Does that even count as rest? Is that enough time? When he started missing games a month ago, what I was told is like that Anthony was told to not stand up and walk for like 4 or 5 days, like staying off of his feet completely. So it's an inflammation issue, which is just gets inflamed by use. So I don't know if they're at the point of like, hey, Ant, take these 48 hours off and relax, or if they're just trying to have him kind of find a way to continue to play through it. But one way or the other, with him and with Nas, these are injuries that are going to ail them to some extent, not just throughout this series, but I would say throughout the entirety of the playoffs, if the Wolves are fortunate enough to advance.
Dane, what are you going to look for tonight from Denver's defense after what Jaden McDaniels said?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm thinking about it all way more functionally. Like, Jaden talks all the time during the game. Like, you've been there at games close to the floor. Jaden talks. Like, there's nothing he said to us in the locker room the other day that he didn't say to all those guys' faces on the floor there. And it's in the media, and like, we're going to make a bigger deal about it, but it's really about like how are the Denver players going to react? And they've played Jaden McDaniels 30 times over the past 4 years. He's talked smack to them in every single one of those games. So I don't really think it's something that they're going to be super charged up about comparatively. I just have the question of like, is Denver's defense actually good enough? Like, Jaden really went out of his way to name guys by name, but Denver is not a good defensive team, PA. They were 21st in defensive rating this season during the regular season. They're better typically when they have Aaron Gordon in the lineup, but they haven't been great with Aaron Gordon in the lineup in this series either. So, yeah, was what Jaden said was a little hot, sure, but it wasn't totally untrue. And I think for Denver to win this game, they do need to play better defense, not just in terms of one-on-one, but schematically, I think when the Wolves went a little smaller and had Rudy off the floor with foul trouble, I think the Wolves really found something offensively that Denver didn't have a lot of answers for in terms of their defense individually and collectively.
I love that answer. Speaking of defense, Rudy's fourth quarter work on Jokic Monday night. What'd you think?
I mean, just so cool, right? For Rudy, and you start to come to understand and thus respect Rudy Gobert the more you watch him. That's what I say all the time. Like, I didn't really get what Rudy Gobert was or wasn't when he was on the Utah Jazz, right? I'm just watching a game here and there, and you get influenced by the low lights online and all that. But your appreciation for Rudy Gobert goes up when you see what he does night over night, or as he would say, over hundreds and hundreds of possessions. Now, that said, it kind of surprised me that he locked up Jokic in that sort of way. Rudy is typically a great coverage center, right?
Mm-hmm.
One-on-one defense, he's good at that too, but he's more of like a patrol the paint sort of guy than lock up a dude one-on-one. But he locked up Jokic at the end of that game, and I don't know. He very rarely gets stuff that he can like stand on and like say his stuff, right? And after that game, after he wasn't named the Defensive Player of the Year finalist, yeah, I thought it was kind of fitting and something he deserved, right? Because he just doesn't get anywhere near a modicum of the respect that he deserves by the national perception of him.
How did the Wolves wear Denver down so much Monday night, Dane? I mean, the world could see a 10 of 10 fatigued Murray and Joker. I mean, shoot, Christian Brown. He missed that first free throw and it looked like his legs were tired. Everything with Murray was front rim. Joker shoots an air ball from three and then he's front rimming things. I mean, they were fatigued. They were absolutely out of gas. What led to that?
The Wolves are just way more athletic, man. Denver's way smarter than them, but the Wolves are way more athletic, and they counterbalance the Jokic smartness factor with being faster, bigger, longer, and more athletic than that team. And I think which the Wolves don't always do, right, impose that athleticism. When they do, it's hard to keep up with, and Rudy's a good example of that guarding Jokic because he's so long, right? Like if you're Jokic, you can't just turn and shoot against him. If it's Julius Randle or Naz Reid, like you can just turn and shoot, but Rudy's long, so you got to make a move to get around his length there. That's more work. The way they guard Ant all the time, right? They try to double him at the top of the key. Well, the Wolves bring up a screen. They bring up Rudy to set the screen. Who's the guy sending to the double? That's Jokic. So Jokic on defense is basically, remember like the pacer test? You're like, up, touch the line, go back to the baseline. Up, go to half court, touch the baseline, go back. Like Jokic has to run all the time on defense against Anthony Edwards because they can't guard him one-on-one. Like Jokic is in better shape than it might look like when you look at him, but he's a human being and he's played over 40 minutes in both of these games. And every one of those minutes is asked to put in a lot of effort. And on down the line, like the Wolves have athleticism advantages at just about every single position. So I think we just finally sort of saw that come to fruition in game two, especially with the small ball unit, right? When Julius is at the 5 and the Wolves are just playing real fast.
Dane Moore at Dane Moore NBA via X, Dane Moore podcast. Absolutely fantastic. Gravy Train some takes for this conversation coming up soon from his most recent one. After the game 2 win at Ball Arena, what was the locker room like? Was it that of relief? Like we got one on the road, or that of cockiness, like bleep those guys, they can't play with us?
You know the saying of like when you're a cold shooter, you just need to see one go in. Like get to the free throw line and just you missed your first 5 jump shots of the game, but you got fouled, you got to the free throw line, and you just made both of those free throws. I felt like the Wolves locker room was like that feeling of, all right, we made a couple free throws here. Now we remember how to shoot. It had kind of been a weird, I wouldn't say negative vibe for the past month, but they've sort of just been living in this ambiguity of like, what's Ant's injury? Like, is he going to be back? What are we going to be when the playoffs come around? And I feel like game 2, like, they were able to touch it, right? Like, touch it. This is what we are. This is how we can win and beat this team. And so I don't know. I would say, like, relief. And everybody was just, like, kind of having fun in there. And the Wolves have fun in that locker room after they win consistently. It just has been a while since I'd sort of seen that or felt that in the locker room.
Dane, just a couple to close here. Finchy, the head coach Chris Finch, laid off Kyle Anderson Monday night, and his air ball 2 feet from the basket didn't help Kyle's cause. Do you think Slow-Mo gets back into the mix tonight?
I don't know, PA. I'm kind of at the point where Finch has been playing 5 guys off the bench, 10 total. I think it's probably time to cut one down and sort of hone it in. You think about Kyle airballing that little 5-footer. Well, he hadn't played in the game in real time in probably an hour and a half. You know, he played at the end of the first quarter, right? And then that was what was in the end of the third quarter. So there's just it's hard to keep your rhythm and your touch if you're going to be out for that long of a period of time. And I think the same thing goes for Bones Highland and Mike Conley and some of those other deeper bench guys too. I don't know. Kyle does bring an interesting wrinkle to this too. It's another guy to guard Jokic. He had that nice blitz where they got a steal and pass it ahead to Dante for the dunk. I mean, all 10 guys I think can help, but it feels like one too many to me personally.
I guess I'm more asking this question for a vociferous fan base, but I mean, your opinion is super well respected here and in NBA circles. So do you expect Terrence Shannon Jr. or Jalen Clark to get some run in the home games? Because truthfully, that's usually when coaches give young reserves a chance, right? In home games.
I would say this. I don't think this is a Jalen Clark series where you break glass and throw him in, maybe if you're against the Thunder or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
The one specific situation I would be interested in Terrence Shannon Jr. is when it is a time as the Wolves are trying to fully lean into that athleticism. Rudy's maybe in foul trouble or he's on the bench sitting, and you're going to put a group of 5 guys, spread the floor, and run. I think that's when Terrence Shannon Jr. could help you. But if Rudy's in the game, if TJ Shannon's just sitting in the corner there, I don't think he's helping you in that spot. I think he can help you in a specific situation of feels like football, right? Put him out there for the Hail Mary at the end of the half because he's going to be able to run down the floor and jump up there and go get it. That would be the specific situation for him. But, man, I think there's already too many guys playing. You know, maybe in a different series, Finch goes a different direction with who plays. But I don't know. I think, if anything, we get fewer players than Moore tonight.
Love it. Last one. What are some of the Dane Moore keys the rest of the series for the Wolves to win it?
I think they got to continue to play fast on offense in their decision making. Right? We can think about that when the situations where Ant or Julius just catch and assess the floor. You can't take that full beat. Right? That's got to play, as Finchy says, always 0.5 basketball. Half a second, you're making another decision to attack or pass it again. But I think specifically on offense in the dribble handoff game and pick and roll game, consistently mixing that up and, again, forcing Murray and Jokic to defend pick and roll and screens there against Ant and Julius. They can't keep up with them. They are, again, more physically grown than those two guys. And I think on offense, playing fast, playing dribble handoff, playing in pick and roll with Rudy off the floor is something that Denver cannot really guard and the Wolves can take advantage of by playing fast and getting all the way to the rim. I asked Bones Highland about this after practice yesterday about Ant and Julius, and he said, I told Ant and Julius in the fourth quarter, no more jump shots. And I agree with that so much. When it's time to go, it's time to go and play faster, play more physical. And I think that's where the Wolves have an advantage here. Jaden's right. Denver does have bad defenders. Take advantage of that because they got good offensive players, and they're going to make you look like bad defenders on the other side of the floor. So take advantage on offense. I'm thinking about all the ways to do that, but I think Ant and Julius are the real keys there.
Enjoy the game tonight, and we'll call you next week if you have time. Okay? Thank you, Dane.
Yes, sir.
See you about Dane Moore at Dane Moore NBA. From the front court festivities of it all to the folly that is the National Football League draft, and next.
Hardcore football.
Heavy hitter Jordan Reid with ESPN. He's at the draft in Pittsburgh. We'll get his late thoughts with the draft tonight beginning at 7 when 9 to noon continues after that.
We're the 24th pick in the 2025 NFL Draft. the Minnesota Vikings select Donovan Jackson, guard, Ohio State.
Here comes one of our very favorites. What a gracious individual, Jordan Reid with ESPN at Jordan_Reid via the X machine. Jordan, you're the absolute best, man. Thanks for the time on draft day from Pittsburgh. I know you got a lot of work to do with the mothership, ESPN, during the course of the day. Are you going to rest in your hotel room before all of this unfurls? Will there be ever important rest for Jordan Reid today?
The rest will start at about an hour and 10 minutes from now. I've been up since about 7 o'clock just doing some last minute prep, just making sure I cover all my bases, understanding everything that I need to know and the players that are potentially going to be selected tonight. So I'm excited, man. I'm feeling like a kid just waking up on Christmas, and I'm really excited to see 11 months of prep come down to 3 days, and that starts tonight.
Have you had any revealing chats, like we would call them background information, and whether it's agents or whether it's team personnel people, any revealing chats with anybody in Pittsburgh, let's say the last couple of days, that are going to lead you to changing opinions or like making splashy calls?
No, not honestly. I'm a person that really doesn't worry about changing things the week of the draft. Of course, you hear a lot of intel, you hear a lot of different rumors and things of that nature. All my friends in the league, I haven't heard from any of them since about Sunday. All of them really shut me out. They don't even return any good luck texts or anything like that, just because they're so focused on this week. So I don't really change anything, honestly, just because you really can cloud a lot of judgments that happens. You don't want to make any mistakes doing that too.
Amen. Well put. All right. Well, that flies in the face of how I in this radio show do things, because we got the Wild and we got the Wolves and we got the Vikings, and we have so many things going on to service the listening public. For yours truly, generally the best information comes to me very late in the equation. So I'm going to hit you with one of those, or at least a couple of those, and tell me what you think. Like Tennessee cornerback JReid McCoy and his knee. If he were to slide to say pick 25 through 35, would that surprise you?
No, it wouldn't at all, just because from what I've heard with the knee, it's a matter of just when, not if, with him, and him potentially getting a second surgery. So it's going to be similar to like a Miles Jack situation from what we saw a few years ago, and then also Will Johnson from last year. And Will, I think, went 47 overall, if I'm not mistaken. So I wouldn't be surprised if McCoy does not hear his name tonight. It's just a matter of how comfortable you are with the medical with him. That when, not if. I mean, I heard that so many times yesterday about so many different guys. It's like, okay, yeah, they'll give you this, but shame on their agents for selling to them. You're going to get this big second contract and 25, 50 million here, where medically speaking, it percentage wise, it's just probably not going to be possible. And it sounds like you're all over that with JReid McCoy. All right, let me hit you with this. Vanderbilt tight end Eli Stowers and his shoulder and a potential slide. What do you think? I haven't heard like any specifics on him potentially sliding because of the shoulder. I still expect him to go somewhere in the second round. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes top 60, just because of just the dynamic ability that he provides in the passing game. He's a really good receiving threat, and he's a mismatched weapon. Now, he's a big wide receiver. He's not a true versatile tight end to me, just because he's not going to give you much of anything as a blocker. So if you're looking for a big receiver that you can flex out on the slide and be a dynamic weapon against linebackers and safeties, he's definitely going to bring that to the table. Okay, so with his medical condition, let's say the shoulder, have you heard your intel or what you believe with your elite discernment? Do you think Stowers is one of those when, not if guys, and it could hinder his career? I mean, I don't know the extension to that, honestly, PA. I can't really speak on that, especially when we're talking about, medicals.
Yes, sir.
Just me personally, I haven't heard anything from like the extent of it as far as it being a hindrance early on in his career or long term.
Yeah, got it. And the reason I bring it up is because, I don't pay as much attention to all of this as you do. So when I start picking around about individuals and you start hearing some things, doesn't mean those people have to be right, but generally speaking, they are. Jordan Reid, ESPN, ESPN.com, ESPN Radio, at Jordan_Reid via X. Follow him. If you don't follow him, shame on you, but today is an elite day to be at Jordan_Reid. If I were to say with the LA Rams at 13, 75% the Rams trade from 13, be it up or back. Do you think 75 is too high a percentage?
No, I think that's spot on. I think they're a team that we've seen they're not shy about making trades, whether it's of players or picks of anything of that nature. They're one of those few teams that I wouldn't be surprised if they trade up inside of the top 7 or 8 or so for a receiver. I wouldn't be surprised by that, or even if they trade back and exchange picks with another team that's trying to come up for another player at a position that they do like. And that's the fun part about this year's draft, honestly, outside of the first overall pick. There's so much unpredictability with this year's class, and there's so many similar grades that a lot of teams are really going to want to position themselves into getting a player that they do like in that stack that they do have.
Jordan, are there maybe 4 or 5 offensive linemen that a lot of teams want, and then maybe it's a big drop off from there? And if that's accurate or close to accurate, do you think that run could begin around 10, 11, or 12?
I think it could start at 6, honestly, PA, with Cleveland. That would not be surprising at all if they take an offensive tackle, just get the guy that they want. Right. In this stack, I think we could see as many as 7 go inside of the first round today, and I think those guys are going to come off the board really, really quickly, and that starts with Cleveland at 6. If they want to take, a Francis Maui Noah or a Monroe Freeland or a Spencer Fano at number 6 overall, that wouldn't be surprising at all. But there's so many teams inside those top 25 picks that need an offensive tackle, and just going through those teams, Cleveland is an obvious one at 6 overall. I look at Miami at 11. Even, the Ravens at 14, they could take an offensive lineman too. So there's a lot of teams. Detroit at 17, I didn't even mention as well. There's so many teams inside of that top 25 of where I could see a quick run on tackles, which would be a great thing for the Vikings, sitting right in the middle of that race for these offensive tackles. There could be some good players that fall to them at number 18 overall.
Yeah, that's the premise, is that if teams start tripping on these offensive linemen going quickly and they're making moves and everything, that better than anybody, that's how certain players slide, where you're like, I never thought he would be there, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And, there's always a guy in every draft that slips. We've seen it in previous years, especially with safeties. Kyle Hamilton, I never would have thought in a million years that he would be there at number 14 overall. We saw it last year with Malachi Starks and also Nick Emanwori. Both of those guys went in that 25 to 35 range. So there's always players every year that you're like, man, I can't believe that he's still sitting on the board at this pick. Les Snead, the general manager for the LA Rams, publicly, I found this yesterday, you probably already know it, June of 2025. Into the 2025 season, he was quoted as saying, in the next draft, 2026, Ty Simpson is his favorite quarterback. Do you believe that, and do you think that is in play tonight? I think it's possible. I don't think the Rams are going to go quarterback, just because I think they're in such a win-now window, and they want to help Matthew Stafford or that defense as much as they can, just because, let's be honest, I think Stafford has at max, 3 to 4 years left in his career. So they want to maximize this win-now window with him. And that's why so many people are projecting them to go wide receiver or somebody like Kenyon Sadiq, the tight end out of Oregon. So I don't envision them taking a quarterback, but, if Ty Simpson is there later on in the draft on day 2, potentially for them, I think their next pick is at 61 overall. I don't think Ty's going to fall that far, but we know they don't really care about draft picks and trading up in situations or giving up future draft capital as well. So if they do like Ty, I see it more so on day 2. I just don't see it at 13, honestly.
What do you anticipate teams doing with Florida defensive lineman Caleb Banks?
He's one that has a wide range of opinions, honestly, PA, just because if we're talking about strictly just the talent, I think he would have had a chance to be the first defensive tackle off the board in this year's class. But we're talking about somebody that's had 2 foot surgeries over the past 8 months. And for a man that size at 6'6", 330 pounds, that's just very alarming. And everybody that I've talked to, he even sent out a letter to teams yesterday saying that he's going to be fully cleared for everything in the month of June. But still, coming off of 2 foot surgeries and then also just the durability concerns with him, there's going to be a wide range of opinions with him. I don't think he's going to hear his name called tonight, honestly, just because of the durability issues, but he's not going to be on the board very long going into day 2.
All right, I know you're busy and you need rest. 2 to go. Central Florida edge Malachi Lawrence. Is he somebody teams love and are trying to keep quiet, but really somebody's going to jump up and snatch him in a spot where people are like, Malachi Lawrence, holy cow.
He's one of those names I would circle as somebody that goes a little bit earlier than what a lot of people are expecting. I think his clock really starts with the Cowboys at number 20. Overall, that wouldn't be surprising to me just because they have a huge need at edge rusher. The Chargers at 22 make a lot of sense. Philly right behind them at 23 make a lot of sense. And even the Bears and Bills with consecutive picks at 25 and 26 make a lot of sense for him as well. And he's just one of those guys that's one of the best pass rushers in this year's class. And we know teams are starved for rushers off of the edge. And he's very natural at the position, has really good bend as well. Still needs to get better from a run defense aspect, but coaches always feel like they can coach that aspect up, where it's harder to coach those pass rush moves naturally into players.
Lastly, JReid, if you were to make a final call for the Minnesota Vikings at 18 and all options are available, trade up, trade back, and whatever you want, what would it be?
Well, man, you put me on the spot with this one. So I think ideal scenario for them is to trade back. I would say somewhere between that 22 to 28 range. And the player that I think would be perfect for them is Caden McDonald, who's a defensive tackle out of Ohio State, just because I look at this defensive tackle room, PA. You lost Javon Hargrave, you lost Jonathan Allen. They just don't have that big space eater in the middle. And he's not only that, he's a really good pocket pusher as well. They just need a defensive tackle in the middle of this defense right now. So ideally you trade back, you get maybe an extra 3rd round pick or so, or maybe some extra draft capital in next year's draft. And then you select Caden McDonald. I think that would be a home run scenario for the Vikings.
Greatly appreciate you. Get some rest. Have a wonderful time. We will watch, read, and listen to you all day. Thank you, Jordan.
Absolutely. Thank you as always, PA.
Yep. See you, bud. Jordan Reid, ESPN at Jordan_Reid, 10:02. Here comes Nacho. Ben Lieber and his high-end football opinions on the 9 to noon show around the corner. It's KFAN.